Hailey thought her digital life was a private sanctuary, a quiet escape from the lonely reality of her Philadelphia apartment. But late one night, a strange anomaly appeared in her browser history, a blank, dated line leading to a dead link. At first, it seemed like a simple glitch, yet as she investigated the unrecognized device logged into her accounts, a chilling realization took hold. Someone was not just accessing her data, they were actively living a parallel existence within her digital footprint. The empty spaces in her search history were deliberate erasures, hiding a silent intruder who knew her deepest secrets. The screen was no longer a window to the world, but a mirror reflecting an unseen watcher who was already inside. The harsh blue light of the laptop screen illuminated the dark Philadelphia apartment, casting long shadows across the empty room. Hailey sat alone, scrolling through the browser with a quiet, mechanical rhythm. The silence was absolute, broken only by the faint hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen and the distant wail of a siren echoing through the streets. She was looking for a specific design reference for an upcoming floral arrangement project, but a strange anomaly caught her eye. There, nestled between two recent searches for vintage vases, was a blank line. It had no title, no URL, just a recent timestamp from mere minutes ago. Frowning, Hailey clicked the empty space. The page failed to load, returning a sterile error message. A cold prickle of unease washed over her. She opened the active sessions menu to check the login details. Her breath hitched in her throat. An unrecognized device was currently logged in, operating from an unknown location. The digital sanctuary she relied on felt suddenly violated. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard, trembling slightly. Who had been searching for this? She whispered to the empty room, tracing the blank line on the screen. The cursor blinked mockingly in the dark. Desperate for a rational explanation, she opened her messaging app and typed a quick note to Ryan, her trusted online confidant. Was this account accessed by someone else? She typed, watching the screen intently. The typing indicator appeared, a steady stream of dots indicating a response was coming. Then abruptly, the dots vanished. The screen returned to a silent, mocking stillness. "It is just a glitch," she muttered, but her racing pulse betrayed a desperate need for normalcy. The blank line was not a simple error. It was a deliberate erasure, a hidden footprint proving someone else was navigating her digital life, leaving empty spaces where their actions should be visible. The isolation of the apartment suddenly felt like a trap, and the glowing screen was no longer a window to the world, but a mirror reflecting an unseen intruder who knew exactly how to hide. She closed the laptop lid, but the image of that blank line remained burned into her mind, a silent promise that her privacy was already gone. The next morning, the bustling flower shop offered a deceptive sanctuary. Sunlight streamed through the front windows, illuminating buckets of vibrant lilies and roses, filling the air with a heavy, sweet fragrance. Hailey stood behind the counter, desperately trying to shake off the lingering chill of her late-night paranoia. The physical world felt solid, grounded, and safe, or so she thought. Carter, arranging a bouquet of white orchids, paused and frowned at her pale complexion. He mentioned that she looked exhausted, his voice cutting through the steady hum of the commercial refrigerators. He wiped his hands on his canvas apron and leaned over the counter, tapping the screen of her phone where her social media feed was open. He asked if she had bought the mug displayed on the screen. Hailey blinked, pulling her focus to the glowing screen. A recent post on her profile featured a steaming ceramic cup with a distinct geometric pattern. She did not own anything like it. The caption read, "Morning Reflections." A cold sweat broke out on her forehead, dampening her skin. "No," Hailey stammered, her thumb hovering over the image. "I do not know how that got there." Before Carter could press further, a notification slid down from the top of her screen, a direct message from Ryan. Her heart hammered against her ribs like a trapped bird as she opened it. The message noted that she looked tired today. Attached was a photo. Hailey's breath hitched in her throat. It was a picture of the back of her head and neck, taken from a high, close angle. She was wearing the exact same oversized cardigan she had put on that morning. The background was the blurred greenery of the flower shop cooler. The angle was impossible for a stranger to capture without standing right behind her. The thief was not just in her accounts. They were mirroring her physical reality in real time, watching her through her own device's camera lens. The comforting illusion of physical safety shattered instantly, replaced by a suffocating, omnipresent dread. "It is just a prank," she told Carter, her voice trembling as she snatched the phone away. She backed toward the employee break room, her eyes darted toward the security camera in the corner. "I need to go." Carter watched her retreat, his expression shifting from confusion to genuine concern. Hailey's shaking hands betrayed the terrifying truth she could no longer ignore. The digital stalker was not just stealing her identity, they were living it, right over her shoulder. The break room at the flower shop felt too small, so Hailey had fled to the larger retail store next door, slipping into the back room just as the late afternoon sun cast long, harsh shadows through the high windows. The fluorescent lights overhead buzzed with a sterile, unforgiving glare, illuminating the dust motes dancing in the cold air. The space smelled of cardboard and stale coffee, a stark contrast to the sweet lilies she had been handling all day. She leaned against a metal shelving unit, her chest heaving, and pulled out her laptop. She needed to see the cloud notes. If the intruder was in the camera, the files were compromised. She needed to understand the depth of the breach. Her fingers trembled as she opens the synced notes app. The screen glowed with a pale, icy light against her pale face. She scrolled past mundane grocery lists and work schedules until reaching a folder labeled Personal. There, at the very top, was a new draft. The timestamp was from exactly 20 minutes ago, the exact moment she had been crying in the flower shop cooler, texting Ryan for comfort. She clicked it open. The words on the screen made her stomach drop. It was a message addressed to her estranged sister, Maya. But it was not just any message. It was written in her exact cadence, using the specific vulnerable phrasing she had only ever thought about in her darkest moments. The vulnerability of the words was suffocating. Maya had not spoken to the family in 3 years, and the silence had been a heavy, unbreakable wall. The text read, "I miss the way we used to sit on the porch. I am sorry I pushed the family away. Can we try again?" "He knows about the sister," Hailey whispered to the empty room, her voice cracking. "He knows the exact words that could never be said." The blank lines in the search history suddenly made terrifying sense. They were not glitches. They were the exact moments Ryan was distracting her online, keeping her engaged in chat while quietly navigating the cloud drives, overwriting the life, rewriting the most intimate relationships. The digital phantom was not just observing. The phantom was actively replacing the protagonist, weaving a new narrative that would eventually overwrite the original. Her phone vibrated violently against the metal shelf, making her jump. The screen lit up with a new message from Ryan. The text asked if everything was okay, noting the distant behavior and asking if a mistake was made. Hailey stared at the comforting, familiar words. The man who understood the loneliness perfectly. The man who was currently stealing the soul, one keystroke at a time. She hovered her finger over the delete button, paralyzed by the suffocating weight of the choice. If the stalker was exposed, the only person who truly listened would be gone forever. "Not just watching," she breathed, a tear slipping down her cheek as the harsh light reflected in her eyes, erasing the entire identity. The phone buzzed again, a frantic plea to talk. Hailey pushed through the heavy glass doors of the retail store, stepping out into the crisp Philadelphia evening. The transition from the harsh, buzzing fluorescent lights of the back room to the warm, golden glow of the corner cafe was jarring. She needed an open space. She needed witnesses. She slid into a booth near the window, the bright overhead pendant lights casting sharp shadows across the wooden table. She placed her phone face up on the table, deliberately leaving the screen unlocked. Her heart hammered a frantic rhythm against her ribs, but her hands were steady. This was no longer about hiding. It was about hunting. "Just a black coffee, please," she told the barista as he approached, her voice tight but controlled. "Coming right up. Rough day?" the barista asked, wiping down the adjacent table. "No idea," Hailey murmured, her eyes locked on the phone. The barista walked away, leaving her alone with the glowing screen. She opened the social media app, navigating to the profile of the stalker. The refresh icon spun for an agonizing second before the page updated. A new post had just appeared. It was a photo. The angle was high, slightly tilted, capturing the edge of a wooden table, a half-empty coffee cup, and the blurred background of the cafe interior. It was taken from the exact device. It was taken from her exact perspective, just seconds ago. The caption read, "Finally relaxing. The evening light is beautiful." A cold, sharp clarity washed over her, freezing the panic that had gripped the entire day. The stalker was not just in the cloud. The stalker was here. Hailey slowly lifted her eyes from the screen, scanning the crowded cafe. The hiss of the espresso machine and the low murmur of conversations faded into a dull roar. Her gaze swept past a couple sharing a pastry and stopped. 2 tables away, sitting in the corner booth, was a man holding a phone. He was not looking at the screen. He was looking directly at her. "He was right outside," she whispered, the words barely audible. Her thumb hovered over the screenshot button, locking in the undeniable proof. The stalker wanted to be her. Let us see how well the imitation handled the real thing. The man in the corner slowly lowered the phone, a faint, unsettling smile touching his mouth. He did not look away. The trap was set, but as he took a slow, deliberate sip of his drink, Hailey realized with a sickening drop in her stomach that he was not the one caught. He was waiting for the first move, and the crowded cafe suddenly felt very, very small. The morning sliced through the cafe windows, casting long, golden rectangles across the wooden floor. The crowded room felt entirely frozen around Hailey as she stood up from her booth. The man in the corner, the man who had known her deepest sorrows and mirrored her exact cadence, watched her approach. His unsettling smile faltered as she slid into the seat opposite him. She did not yell, she did not cause a scene. She simply placed her phone face up on the table between them, the screen displaying the live photo he had just taken of her alongside the active session logs. "The stolen life was never real," Hailey said, her voice steady, cutting through the low hum of the espresso machine. Only the posted parts mattered to the phantom. Ryan stared at the glowing screen, his comforting facade crumbling into a pale, pathetic desperation. He opened his mouth, but no words came. His hands trembled slightly as he reached for his own phone, but he stopped when he saw the absolute resolve in her eyes. He had stolen her loneliness to build a fake mirror, filling the empty spaces of her search history with his own hollow reflections. He thought he could overwrite her reality, but he had only succeeded in showing her exactly what she was worth. "He is not me," she whispered, the finality of the words settling heavy in her chest. "He never was." Right there, in the bright, unforgiving daylight, Hailey opened her settings. Her thumb moved with deliberate, mechanical precision. She changed her passwords, revoked his trusted devices, and severed the cloud sync. With every tap, a tether snapped. The digital phantom that had worn her face was erased. She left him sitting in the silence and walked out into the crisp Philadelphia air. The cool breeze bitted her cheeks, a sharp contrast to the stifling warmth of the cafe. The barista from earlier watched her leave through the glass, his expression a mix of confusion and relief. Hailey did not look back. The physical world had never felt so solid, yet so profoundly empty. She had reclaimed her identity, but the comfortable, fabricated intimacy she had relied on for months was gone forever. The grief was sharp, a heavy stone in her chest, but it was a real grief. It belonged to her. Every step she took down the pavement felt deliberate, anchoring her to the concrete and the reality of her own choices. The city around her was waking up, oblivious to the digital war that had just been won and lost on a small wooden table. Hours later, Hailey sat at her desk in her quiet apartment. The harsh blue light of the laptop was gone, replaced by the soft, clean wash of morning light filtering through the blinds, illuminating the dust motes dancing in the still air. She had wiped her devices, factory resetting the very tools that had betrayed her. The apartment was completely silent, save for the distant, muffled sound of traffic from the street below and the occasional creak of the old building settling. She opened a fresh browser window on the newly reset machine. The history was completely empty. There were no blank lines, no hidden timestamps, no ghostly erasures hiding a silent intruder. The screen was a blank slate. She was entirely alone, the emotional cost of the betrayal aching like a physical bruise. She reached for her ceramic mug, the one she actually owned, and took a slow sip of cold water.
As she typed her first genuine, unmonitored search into the empty bar, the quiet hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen grounded her in the present. The silence was finally her own.